Okay, we are going to start our meeting again. Our technical difficulties have been resolved. So hello, everybody who's remote. And I will again officially call our March 17th meeting to order. And at this point, we will recalculate roll call. So we do have some members who are present, but if you would indicate others, like,
Okay, well, I just wrote them down.
yeah.
I got Coiner present, Greenlee present, Meyer, Peterson, Powell, Schertz, Walker, and Whittemire.
I think everybody is accounted for, which means we can now
No,
conduct.
Whittemeyer's absent, I'm sorry, never mind,
Whittemire,
sorry.
but Jody Walker is present.
The others are here, yeah.
And Jody Walker? Great. Well, hello, we'll start again. We have right now two new members who are attending for the first time, and we want to take a moment to introduce them. And the first is James who will represent the 5th Ward. And James, welcome. And if you have just a minute to say where you are connected within the city and your main interests, that would be enough to get us started. Yes. There you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm James Hu. I'm from Taiwan, actually. So I moved to Davenport in 2020, July. So I teach at Ambrose. I'm assistant professor at Ambrose in sport management. So before I came here, I teach at Southeast Missouri State for 3 years, and I served the committee for Missouri Parks and Recreation. And I got my degree in Indiana University about leisure behavior. So I get involved in the recreation industry for a while. So I just hope when my colleague asked me, do I have an interest to join the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board? I say, oh yeah, sure, should be a good thing. Because my first time I attended public affairs in my life in the U.S. So I mean, it should be interesting. But I'm very green, so if I do something wrong, let me know.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
You're sitting next to Jerry, and he is definitely a seasoned council member, so he will help you. Our second new member is Farrah Powell, and she is the representative from the 4th Ward, so welcome. And just a couple of statements about yourself so we get to know you.
Farrah Powell, of course, as you heard, raised my whole life right here in Davenport. Spent a lot of time growing up in the parks. That was way back when the parks would be packed on Saturdays and Sundays. I come from a big sports family, so heavy with that side, everything from gymnastics to football, basketball, soccer. So definitely look forward to being part of this group and tying the two as different ventures together. I'm also alumni of St. Ambrose, so definitely happy to be here.
She's got it. She's on it. Thanks. We're welcoming both of you, and you're coming in at kind of a very good time because we've been working with our funding for the coming year, 2023, and you'll hear more about that. So we want to proceed. We have no one present today in the chambers for public comment, so we will move right into new business, and we'll start with that Park Development Fund. The final slate, we had an opportunity to rate possible projects. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we do have to do that too. Let's back up one more time. Yes. You have before you the minutes of the February 17th meeting, and we will want to approve. So we'll take just a moment to review again. You had them in front of you when you came to your seated position. And so review, and if there are additions or things missing, now is the time before we approve. I'm hearing or seeing that we may be ready for a motion. Could we entertain that motion to approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
And do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the February 17th minutes. All those approving the minutes indicate yes.
Yes.
I'm seeing yes.
Yes.
Are there any noes or abstentions that we have to indicate? Okay, we have passed the minutes, and so they'll be on record. Thank you. Now, why don't we move right into, see, I was anxious to find the results, and I think there were several other board members that wanted to know what the results were going to be. So here it is. Do we have a drum roll?
Sure. I have it in front of me. In front of you is the final scoring of the Park Development Fund project list for fiscal year '23. Just a brief recap for some of our newer members. The Park Development Fund is an annual CIP program that is funded at $350,000. Every year, the Park Advisory Board, as well as City Council, ranks or rates or prioritizes a project list that's put together by staff. And we went through that exercise several months ago, and then council completed it shortly thereafter. So on the screen, you can see the cutoff. We are able to fund roughly 12 projects for a total of $337,900 out of that fund. It leaves us with about a $12,000 cushion, which is okay given the state of supply and costs and everything. Once we actually get into procuring these projects, it's nice to have that little bit of a buffer. So I'm going to quickly just go down the list because I know the screen is might be hard to read. But the highest ranking project was the skate park maintenance. Had a score of 64 and the cost of $55,000. River's Edge Boiler Project at $25,000, score of 55. The We Go Swing at Vanderveer. This is a inclusive swing for wheelchair participants that will be added to the inclusive playground at Gabe's Play Village at Vanderveer. That was a cost of $50,000 and received a score of 51. Replacing outdated Special Olympics equipment was our fourth project at $11,000. 51 was the score on that. The City Cemetery building, this is the storage unit, equipment unit for the City Cemetery. That is $45,000 and that was a score of 49. Branding initiative, this is a area to bolster Becca's area and improve our branding and our community outreach. That came in at a score of 48 for $20,900. Junior theater tuck pointing was $20,000 and came in with a score of 48. The restrooms at Duck Creek and Emice, these are the on-course restrooms to improve those. That came in at $15,000 and a score of 46. The Golf Versatrack Turf Tractor at $25,000, score of 42 was next. Junior Theater Porch Repairs at $21,000, score of 41. Credit Island Lodge Floor, $25,000, and that had a score of 35. And the final project on the slate is the Fedgeberry Cougar House roof, $25,000 and a score of 29. If you recall, we had, this is probably a little over half of the projects submitted, but we had a total of about over $600,000 worth of projects submitted. And of course, the fund is only at $350, so not all of them make it. So this is the slate and the scoring. I would tell you that you guys and council were pretty on par. There wasn't too much discrepancy in between your scoring. So Great minds think alike. And if you have any questions at this point for staff on any of these projects, we're here to answer them. If not, you can certainly, we'd entertain a motion to approve these, and then they will move on to City Council for the final approval for funding starting July 1st.
I do have one question. Could you briefly say what the porch repairs are about? Does anyone know? Well, the thing that I experienced, which is what I'm making a comment about, is that when you come out of the theater or enter the theater, the doorway, the main entrance, the steps going down are uneven, and the bottom step is a great giant step difference, and that is just set for someone truly tripping. I experienced it, but I caught my balance. But there is a great difference in the risers, and they should be equal. So I'm hoping that in commenting that we might want to say, hey, take a look at that and repair it in some way if it isn't part of this project. So that was my comment, but I was hoping it might be part of that so we know it's fixed. That was mine. I don't know if there's anything else, but
So Jessica pulled it up, had it up here. You can see up there. So it looks like it does include that stair repair you're referencing, Wendy.
wonderful, because it's sorely needed.
Yeah.
So we will entertain a motion to approve.
I'd like to say,
That, Chad-
excuse me,
What? Oh, excuse me. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to say one thing. I'm probably okay with everything that we have up there, except for one thing that I'm not quite sure if we really need to spend that kind of money. And that's the building at the cemetery. That's an awful lot of money to spend there. That's all I have to say. I didn't vote for it. I put it low. And I think we could spend our money more wisely than that building. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before we vote or entertain a motion to approve from the council board? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the presentation and the final slate that was provided by Chad. Do I hear a motion? Okay.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
I seconded.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the final slate for the Park Development Fund for fiscal year 2023. Those approving indicate yes.
Yes.
No or abstention? Do we need to have more than that for approval? It's hearing the motion approval, I would say we will move it on to City Council for final approval. Thank you. A presentation now on hiring and recruitment. And I believe that Becca will be presenting that. Hello.
For our two new board members, welcome. I'm Becca Niles. I'm the Community Outreach and Experience Manager. Thank you for passing on our press release to your students. I appreciate that. And that kind of feeds right into giving you a real brief overview of what we've been doing the last 3 months in terms of our hiring and recruitment. It is a hot topic for everybody. So we're going to start with some of the communication efforts. Wanted to give you mostly a timeline of how we've been publicizing our hiring efforts. So we had, first off, the full page ad that we had in our our 2022 spring summer recreation guide. We also had a press release that went out on March 7th, and that actually garnered a lot of media attention. And if you have not watched the news this week, they came out and joined us for our open interviews yesterday. We also did a social media push. I'm in partnership with the City of Davenport's Facebook page as well, so they were able to help amplify that. We also purchased advertising for that particular post to help boost it as well. We have our now hiring banners are placed throughout Davenport. We have them off of Harrison Street near Vanderveer. I see it every single time I drive down Harrison. We have it at Lindsay Park, Emice Park, Duck Creek Park, and Northwest Park. So some high traffic area parks, popular parks, and are on great in the street view as well. So we're kind of covering the city. We also have been on a couple of the banner lines on the evening news that happened. We had a few of them last week, and then we had them again yesterday with some of the news reports about the open interviews. We also have had a couple of our digital articles, so KWQC and the QC Times. And then we had people who came out and did interviews yesterday. So the images are just a couple of screenshots of whether they're the digital articles, some of the print collateral that we've created. You can see the now hiring flyer. We've been distributing those at the schools. We've distributed those around some of our facilities, and we had a few over here, although I see now it is out and they need more copies. I'm gonna go back real quick. Oh, that way. Which one is it? I can do this. I did want to highlight the image that I have right here on your right-hand side, the now hiring. This was a new thing that we created. It's a 3.5 by 8 inch little like bookmark. And we've had those up at all of the facilities, and we purchased 2,000 of them, and we're already halfway through those. They have been incredibly popular. It's something that's easy and quick for someone to grab, easier than maybe a piece of paper. So we're finding that that's been something that's been really helpful. Let's try this again. I can. It's not working. Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the recruitment efforts. I kind of wanted to summarize what we've been doing. So since January, we've been in discussions about hiring since November as a staff internally. And so starting in January, all of our recreation staff started reaching out to our former employees, people who were with us, seasonal employees, last summer, summer before, asking them if they were interested in coming back, scheduling times to have interviews with them. So that was kind of our first wave. We also started in January going into some of the university classes. So St. Ambrose, we've visited a couple of the classes and either done presentations about our positions that we have open or just general talks about what it is to work in the recreation industry. And that has been, our AmeriCorps member, our staff has done that. I've gone into a couple of them, and I believe that Amanda visited a classroom as well. We also started our lunch hour recruitments at all 3 high schools, so North, Central, and West, where we go and set up tables in the cafeteria during their lunchtime to make sure that we're doing some outreach to the kids and letting them know that we have job opportunities this summer. January, we went during finals. It was not our most successful, but the principals have been really great in working with us and allowing us to come back onto campuses. So we really hit that hard in February and in March as well. We also have been attending a lot of the local job fairs. So we did the mayor's job fair that happened this month. We also went out to a couple that were at St. Ambrose. We were out at the Career Center, reached out to us about their museum and art museum studies because it does kind of line up a little bit with some of the leisure side of things. So we have been hitting the universities pretty hard as well. We've also recruited any of our youth sports parents, the participants' parents, asking them if they'd like to come out, particularly to be sports officials. So we have been doing a lot of communication and outreach. Thank you. And then we're going to, the last slide, this is going to be a real brief presentation, is looking at the open interviews. All of you did receive the press release that had the schedule, but we're just kind of reminding you. We had 2, one in February, one in March. That was primarily geared towards our golf and park operations. And then we had yesterday's, which was highly successful considering that it was spring break and a lot of people are out of town. We had about 15 people who came out and interviewed. We have 3 more coming up on Wednesdays, March 23rd, the 30th, and April 6th. All of them will be at the River's Edge. If you haven't had a chance to come out, we have a really nice setup right in the lobby, welcoming people to come in. And we have little interest cards that even if we don't have a staff person there to greet them, they can fill out an interest card and then we can give them a call back. And then we're gonna have another one on Saturday, April 2nd. So in the picture here, I wanted to highlight the dip your toes into the best job in town. I have to give credit to Amanda Anderson. She came up with these really funny, or maybe you might want to say punny, signs that helped kind of lead people to where we were doing the open interviews, and we also were bribing with candy. And so I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that for you to see some of the creative ways that we are trying to interest people who come in to a very busy facility. So after the first 3 open interview sessions that we've had, the one on February 10th, March 10th, and then yesterday, we have interviewed over 25 candidates so far, covering park operations, golf, and recreation. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
How many jobs do we have open for this?
I knew that was gonna go. So in aquatics, we have about 70 positions that we would need to fill. Camps, we have about 10 positions we need to fill. Park operations, we're looking at about 26, and that's the total number. So we do have some positions that have been filled of these numbers, but that's like our end goal. And then with golf, we have about 70. You have 25 to 30 for the maintenance and grounds, and about 40 for the 3 pro shops.
Do you want to mention the age limit, the youngest?
Yeah.
You-
Our youngest is going to be 15, and that's in our aquatics. For the most part, most of our recruitment is going to be that 18 and over, but with, I believe, our camps are they 15? We prefer a little bit older. So we're lifeguards and aquatics, we have the most flexibility in terms of age. When we're looking at any of our grounds and maintenance, we do prefer 18. AmeriCorps Youth Corps is 17 to 19, and AmeriCorps in general is 17 and above, 18 above.
What's the salary? I mean, range, maybe I should say.
The positions vary. So our lifeguards start at $10. Cashiers start at $8. I believe camp staff starts at $10 as well. And then, Betsy, if you can clarify grounds pay range.
Yeah, they range from 10 to the higher skilled positions at about 14.
And we have a variety. One of the things that I've talked a lot about in terms of recruitment and finding a job with us, we have a position for almost any personality type. You're gonna have some people who are like me. I love talking to people. I love working with kids. I'm big, loud, boisterous. And we have positions that are appropriate for that. People who maybe just wanna be outdoors and work with maybe one other person and not necessarily interact a whole lot, we have positions for that as well. So we have a big variety.
That's great.
What's the starting date you guys are looking at?
All of that's going to vary as well. We already have some that are starting, that have come on and started with and going through orientation and training. Camp is typically May. We start doing aquatics training in beginning of May, I believe. I'm just double checking. And AmeriCorps, AmeriCorps is an ongoing enrollment, whereas Youth Corps, I believe they start in May with really starting in the beginning of June for summer.
Jerry has a comment, question?
I think James had a question before.
Okay.
me.
So, okay. So
There you go.
are you guys interested in collaborate with the Career Center at Stanbro? So maybe next year you guys can have a booth at the career fair? Because I think this year they still do virtual this year. So next year probably back to face-to-face, and then
Yes.
I believe the college kids probably interested in working in the parks and recreation, I think.
It's been, they have been doing a lot of their career stuff virtually, but that's where being able to go into the classrooms and talk to specific classes and majors has been very helpful. There have been some of the smaller majors have hosted like mini career fairs, and we've been to a couple of those.
Jerry, do you have comment?
Yeah, I just, how are you measuring results?
Right now, we're looking at first at how many people we're getting in for interviews and how those are converting over to moving them along in the process. So we'll have the initial interview. Typically, most of our staff will go ahead and say we have a contingent offer and have them fill out the background check information form that they need to fill out. Once they pass background check, then we can move forward with an official offer. And then once they accept it, then we move into filling out personnel action information and getting them on board. Correct me if
So
I'm wrong?
are you getting some results then? I mean, people are doing this?
Yes, and like I said, I think Tom Franks, our safety coordinator, he always does our onboarding training, our safety training, and he had a room and it was full on Monday. I think he had 12 or 15 people. So that's a great start in terms of people who are joining Betsy and Troy's cruise.
And if there is those many people in there and they don't accept or don't want to go any further, do you check to find out why they do not want that position or any position in the city parks department?
That's a little bit easier to do, I will say, with some of the adults, because we can maybe have more conversations. What we have found sometimes is we'll reach out, and if they're a little bit younger, maybe less experienced in terms of the job market, we might not hear back from them.
You kind of know where I'm going with this, don't you? And I don't want to bring it up again, but the pay scale is not the best in the world here.
Yeah. One of the other things, an initiative that we're doing is we're kind of revamping the titles of jobs. And we're looking at how can we make the jobs a little bit more clear for people who are looking for jobs, and also including in that job title. So if you're just Googling, it would also have the pay, the starting pay, because then that people will, if they are interested and they see that and they still click, then we know they're really interested.
Okay. Well, what you've done so far is excellent. I mean, you've done a
Thank you.
great job, so.
The staff has really come together
Yeah.
to
I'm
help each other
impressed
out.
with what you've done.
Thank you.
Farah?
Oh, and I said I wasn't going to talk this time. So previously and throughout time, I've been involved with the school district for various causes and things. Now, I remember I attended a school board meeting, and there's a group, and actually my son is part of this group. I believe it's called TAG. So not TAG as in the talented and gifted, but these are kids that are in co-taught classes, so they're more hands-on than they are books and studying. I wonder if, I know they struggle with trying to get placement for these kids. I wonder if they wouldn't be a benefit with this situation, because a lot of it is seasonal. A lot of these kids, they're very technical, they're very prompt. Their disabilities are, unless you know, you wouldn't know
Yeah.
necessarily. So I'm wondering if that wouldn't be a good idea. I know the other part that I know about this group is that part of their purpose is matching kids up, teaching them to write, fill out applications, put together a resume, pairing them up with things that may interest them to go to future careers in. So I can, that would be a direction. I could try to find you their information.
Oh, actually, I'm Teresa Hallman, just to meet you. I'm the recreation manager.
Okay.
And right now, we do go into TAG 2 times a year, actually, with a bigger focus on Youth Corps, because it is actually job development, and the premises align very, very well. We work with all the TAG teachers at West, Central, and North. But we do also reach out with them through the schools to, to tell them about our positions. That said, a lot of it has to do with the age as far as when we need people, and they're like more in demand, obviously. During the school year, they're looking for placements, but in the summer, there's a ton of jobs, and they, go more for all of the jobs. And to your point, the pay scale may be a part of that, but also that they're looking for like year-round things, and some of the stuff that we do doesn't mash up well, and they may not be old enough to necessarily work with preparations yet because of OSHA requirements.
Well, that's really interesting to know. So we are talking about the same group. So these
Yep.
kids have IEPs,
It used to be
active
IJAG, it's
IEPs.
called now TAG.
So
thought.
I think this is something
No?
different.
Oh.
Because this is kids with IEPs. So they have a learning disability.
Right,
And it's really books is what it is, where they're the ones that would probably become your chefs and plumbers, and because they're more hands-on taught than anything, versus like my other daughter, she's in TAG, but it's like the honors group, IJAG. She's, the grades and academically driven. So I'm gonna see if I can find the link, and I'll pass it on. It's just throwing it
Yeah,
out
for
there.
sure.
and,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they're creatures of habit, so even if it isn't all year,
Right.
it's, get a taste this summer, and they're returners, so.
That'd
But
be
Sharing
fantastic.
of any potential resources.
Yeah, any
we're
resources,
Happy to
please.
look at anything.
Right,
So,
okay, all right, sounds good.
James, do you have an additional comment, and then we'll move on?
Oh, hi,
if
just
we
one
can.
thing.
Yes.
Could Jerry bring each of us pay scales, just to give you a reference? So I rep basketball. So I rep high school basketball and the youth league as well. So most of the youth tournaments around here, run by private organization, they all pay $25 per game, per official. So let's give you a reference about because you guys you have the tournament, probably compete with those tournament because they happen at the same time. So, but officials, that's the same group, so they'll choose they'll be easier, they'll be direct to other tournaments because they pay more, $25 to $30. So,
I don't say, we were
Just-
just going
yeah.
through
We're
sports
just going through
officials.
our official pay scale. It is comparable, due to some, rules here at the city. They couldn't do it per game. We had started that way. But we're comparable to that. That said, TPK and some of the private organizations are definitely pricing us out of the hourly, and so we are looking at that.
This has been a really good, what do we have?
Miss Jody would like to know, what about the Handicap Development Center?
As far as a resource for positions, we definitely reach out to them. The good thing is that we have pretty good relationships with a lot of these resources in town due to our programming. And we have utilized people from them and from, what am I thinking? A couple of the people that we had, like, with the senior group and with, God, what's it called? What? No. Yeah, well, the case size is a little bit more of a drop in. I don't know. We've used like a couple different programs. Some of them kind of ceased. Not obviously Handicap Development Center, but that did a lot of job placement, and even like where they would have support systems in place for those people doing job placements. But they're just starting to get back into going into doing those things, since a lot of them, their funding was changed during COVID and stuff like that. So as they unroll, we would definitely keep them involved.
And what I'm going to say is, I'll say beyond all of us, Jerry's comments about seeing all of this action happening. It's very exciting, and I hope it keeps going. In our time, we need to move on to the summer voucher program, which is also on our list, and I understand you're doing that, Teresa?
Yep, I'll just stay
All
here.
right, just stay right there.
I do agree with, we have done more, Becca's done a really good job on keeping us on task about making sure we're constantly pushing things out. With what happened last year, I feel like we're in a much better place than we were last year. Because one, we know we're gonna open, we know we're gonna run, everybody knows that's going on. So hopefully, a lot of these things will continue to play out And we are having interviews, like Becca said, before she left today, she saw Amanda interviewing a couple more people. It is really that, it's just like staying on them and knowing that we are flexible and we'll work with you because we really want you to work with us. So, anyway, with that said, I am super excited to present on these two things because these are great programs that we've been a part of. One of them we've been doing for a little while, but the Summer Youth Scholarship Program is just something that started last year and it's really exciting. So, the Youth Scholarship Program is basically a partnership that we did with Community and Economic Development, ourselves, and it was the council urging that the funding be used to help families, basically. Both of these programs really help families have something to do throughout the summer. And that's a good thing for everybody, right? It addresses learning loss and their needs, as well as helping us with keeping kids busy constructively opposed to not constructively, and just having a lot of the families be able to realize all the assets we have. Yeah, we'll talk about that. The Kids Pass. So the Kids Pass has been going on since about 2009. And it was the idea, I believe, of the current mayor, actually, that brought the idea to us. And it basically is a pass for $50 that you get to access a lot of the city assets from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And the kids' ages range from 5 to 18. Is that it now? 5 to 18? Okay, that changed last year. That was new. It used to be for up to like 13. For like families can do. So in our stuff alone, a Kids Pass lets you have access to the pools for no additional fees. It lets you have access to the short course at Red Hawk, the River's Edge, open skate. Then there's also, like, our partners are the Putnam, the Figgy, the Davenport Wise, and Modern Woodman. So Kids Pass lets you into all the games Sunday through Thursday at the River Bandits game, and you don't have to pay additional fee for that kid, which is nice, right? I mean, that's really nice access to a lot of our city amenities for just one fee. It also acts as a city bus pass. So like a 13-year-old could actually use it to get on the bus, go to the pool, swim, and that's a really good use of it, right? Okay. It is, it's great, it's great. It's one of my favorite things that we've been a part of. You know, a lot of people say that, they want an adult one.
Yeah, right.
They don't, but I know we've been asked a lot. They probably have one for maybe seniors, but the individual pass is like I just kind of explained, and it basically is $50 for an individual child, right? Parents, if they go to like the River Bandits game, obviously they have to buy themselves a ticket and go into the game. And it may, for River's Edge would be a good example. It's for open skate for your kid to go there, but the parents would have to pay, and it would be just during open skate. You can't, I get to skate for sure, you know, that kind of stuff. The group pass, this just happened I want to say maybe 5 years ago, but we've really, since Jessica and Becca have been involved, really coined it better. A group pass is basically for those organizations, because we still want them to come to the pools, right? We want them to come to River's Edge, stuff like that. It's to make it affordable for them to bring their camp, but they don't necessarily know who their camp's going to be made up of week to week. They have 25 kids, but they don't know what kids those are going to be. So we issue them a group pass, and basically it gets that group in. And for those, because we want them to be chaperoned well, we do let the chaperones in for free along with that. And that all of our partners have agreed to that as well. The only thing we do ask is that a minimum of 48 hours, they make, you know that they're bringing a group of 50 kids or however many kids they're bringing. So, though I told you that the Kids Pass has been going on since 2009, there definitely has been a lot of changes in the last year. We formalized our program by making contracts with each of the agencies, it was getting to be where I definitely know all these people. It's been going around a long time, but it would be like an email, like, you guys are all still in, right? I don't know that for a fact. And as we get more traction and more support from the council, we want to make sure that this is something that we can offer people, right? And we can offer for sale now so that they are ready to go in the summer. Along with that, we ask those organizations who are all on board and wanted to stay with the program, that they start really tracking the use of the passes and how many people are utilizing that and where they're going. So we know, like, are they just going to one River Bandits game or are they utilizing it a lot? So one, we can tell that organization that, yes, you're a part of this program, but it's being, your facility is being well utilized. And on our end, it just makes sure that, like, all of the partners are things that the community wants to be involved with the program. You have a question?
No, not
Okay.
a question. I was just thinking, because these facilities have to be reimbursed some way, somehow.
Yep,
It's not
yep.
a
That's,
charity
and that's what part of this thing was.
Yeah.
So in the very beginning, I would say most of the things were city-supported entities. And so there was, that was the catch for them. But we also didn't want them to lose money if they would be losing money for not having someone attend. So there was a formula that we kind of just came up with based on how much it is to use your thing, and the cost is only going to be $50. So most of the people, the Figgy, the Putnam, ourselves, during their open hours, they want people to be utilizing their facilities. You know, that was the biggest thing. And the River Bandits were probably the biggest ones that are more of a for-profit that would be affected by them not getting necessarily a fee. That they actually are more on board because, much like the reading program they used to do, they want the parents to come there anyway, right? And once you're in there, you're probably sending other money. So that was their hook, but they do get a larger portion than the other entities. That is something else that is kind of being looked at as these numbers will support those things.
So just a quick question, now that I think about it, do these organizations that you're contracting with now, do they post?
Yes, that's actually part of, we put that in the contract as well. That they actually say they are a Kids Pass location, yes. And Jessica and Becca, but mostly Jessica, has done a lot to help them really make sure that they understand the process so that a family doesn't feel uncomfortable, right? The first time they go with the Kids Pass, everybody at that front desk understands, like, yes, you are able to come in, you know, and those kinds of things and what those rules are. And also we formalize that process with groups as well to really reiterate, you gotta let them know ahead of time, and this is what that looks like, these are their hours. And now that that's more formalized with the contract, it's a lot easier for communication because they can make sure all of their staff know those things as well.
Teresa, Jody would like to know how much a group pass is.
It is still the same rate. It's still $50 per child, but it's good for all of those entities all summer long, so.
Linda will take your question, and then we need to kind of move on.
Move
This is
on. Next-
awesome
Right,
information.
we have a lot of stuff here. So,
Yeah.
I see that you evaluate, but of course, the last 2 years, we've had COVID, so we really haven't had a good evaluation.
right, honestly, that's just gotten formalized this year as far as asking them back. Some of them had the tracking because they automatically just have it. The why, they put a number in for the people, so they would be able to tell us back who's come there. But the River Bandits didn't have a way of tracking it, they just let the person in. So now they've developed that as part of the contract. And even internally, we've developed that more too.
Okay, so the Putnam.
So we know how many,
How many take advantage of that?
exactly. And the pools too. We wanted to know how many are actually Kids Pass users versus paying
Right.
all the time.
Okay.
The funding for the Kids Pass, at the end of last year, the council provided us with funding for free Kids Passes to those that would qualify, and a scholarship form, scholarship fund for that. We were able to issue free passes to 12 individuals And an additional 35 passes were issued to organizations who work with youth. So we issued 35 passes, 10 and 15 or whatever, and 12. And then this year, we asked them again to fund a scholarship on the front end. This time we could let people know, because last year we kind of went to them with, we have some groups, can we get money? This year we asked them more formally again, can we get $2,000 specifically targeted for those who ask us? And we know that they can't afford it based on their income. And they were fully supportive of that. Next.
Great. Do we have, can we move on to the grants portion?
We're going, yes, that's what
Okay,
we're doing right
good,
now.
good, good.
You guys will be getting all this, so you'll know the different ways of getting a pass, if you want to push that out, and how to utilize that. Now, the Youth Summer Scholarship Program has started last year, and this was the thing I was saying about us partnering with Community and Economic Development, and the council supported them funding us at a rate of, you want to go right on to the next slide? 300,000 last year. So we got 300,000 last year. And this was towards the tail end. This is kind of happening in the middle of April, which great idea and a wonderful program, but a lot of the stuff that you would want to sign up for was already full, or, you know, there was a lot of rushing going on. And even with that, we were able to issue 487 vouchers. But only 171 of them were redeemed, and a lot of that would have been because things were probably full when they tried to redeem them. But we still spent $119,891 with that, so we had a remaining balance of 180. What we asked is if we could utilize that this summer and do the exact same thing, but we're on the front end this year, and we've already unleashed it to the public. Even with that, it's only been open since the 7th. We've issued 14 vouchers at worth $10,000. So this money is only good until that money is spent, basically. Okay, the summer voucher is eligible. The only thing that we need to do to be an eligible program is to be a multi-day class, camp, or program. So it's not good for a one-day event, because the whole idea is to address, one, keeping them busy and safe. Learning loss was a huge thing during the pandemic, and these funds were created almost because of the pandemic. So the programs must take place between June 1st and be concluded by August 31st. The participants can be kindergarten through seniors, so it isn't even good for high schoolers during the 21-22 years, so you have to have been a kindergartner, so you technically are going to be in first grade. And again, it's really because we're trying to address learning loss that has happened for these kids attending school. The maximum voucher amount is about $200, and we did our kind of due diligence on the pre-end when we got into the program last year and looked at what would cover all the costs of most of the programs, and that is that. And how long is summer? So for the full summer, someone could be in our camps all summer long, and they get $2,600. Basically, how it works is they fill out an application, we approve the application, and then they get told that you have an approved voucher. They take that voucher and go and use it as payment. The reason that we're really trying to push it out and get everybody to apply is because, again, they need the voucher. If they need the voucher to afford to be able to pay it, they don't get the slot until they actually have the voucher. Does that make sense? Okay. So, what agencies are accepting vouchers? Here is a list of all of the agencies that we worked with that actually did have vouchers last year that they redeemed. So we went back to them again early this year, made contracts with them to say, will you be a part of this again? They said yes. And the reason that there's asterisks by the Friendly House and the Boys and Girls Club of the QC is they basically were already full going in. Like when we contacted them this year, they're already full for the summer. But they have special applications that they can go to their participants with that they can get an approved voucher and that will pay for them for the summer. But they have a select group of people that are getting a special application. Okay? I kind of went through this already for you. Are there any questions about the application process? Okay. And no, so when I went to the council for the beautification funds for the kids' scholarship, honestly, we were having a conversation, and because of the fact that this has to deal with summer learning loss and registrations for youth sports programs are earlier before the sport, basically youth sports weren't covered. Our swimming lessons were covered, our camps were covered, our summer dance and theater, but youth sports like kind of end and then they don't start until fall. So we asked the council to grant us $3,000 to start a similar type of program for kids to be able to access funds to be able to participate in our youth sports specifically. And they said yes. So the average cost of our courses is $45 to $62 based on if they need equipment or not. So that'll be a start to fund 50 possible kids to take place in our programs. All of these programs, we use the 80 MFI, which is a little bit more generous than some programs would be. And that's the scale currently. It'll probably change July 1st. It might be a little bit higher at that point. Any questions?
I think there's probably a lot of information here, and I understand that
is.
we're going to get this information. We've got maybe a month to digest and come
Yeah.
back with other questions. Does that sound like a good way to proceed? Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
And if you have any questions, you guys will have, like I said, you'll get this from Jessica as a PDF. So you'll have it, but also you can reach out to me or Jessica with any questions.
That's awesome.
It is really
We're
an
on a
awesome
roll,
thing.
right.
Anybody you know that may benefit, have them fill out an application or give them a link to fill out the application. One thing is we do need, as part of the rules of the program, them to actually bring that into River's Edge because they need a wet signature on it. I don't want to delay anybody else. So just so you know that part of the program.
Is there any challenges with filling out the application?
No, and actually, again, as part of this year, us learning from last year, we did send specific directions to the counselors of all the schools, especially focusing on the title schools. And they have liaisons, that work with specific families too. And those we did reach out to ahead of time so that they know exactly how to do that. And some of them are the ones that actually pushed it out because that's where we had a lot of applications from a couple of them. Some of them may have waited even till after spring break so that they can do it more diligently with those families.
Thank you, Teresa and Becca. We appreciate that. Next on our agenda are staff reports, and so I would begin with reports from Chad. Things to add?
Yep. So I have 3 things just to go over real quickly with, and then if you have any questions for staff on their reports, they'll be happy to answer them. The first thing I just want you guys to be aware of, if you go by Vanderveer, you may notice today we installed some cattle gates, a barrier between the playground and the lagoon. It was brought to our attention earlier this week. There was a toddler who escaped the playground and ended up stepping into the lagoon. Fortunately, there was nothing serious. He was rescued promptly, but out of an abundance of caution, we've put this temporary barrier up, and we are going to look forward to find a more permanent solution to prevent that from happening again. But in case you get questions, just making you aware, and given the incident that happened with the boy in LeClaire and the detention pond, so we are taking extra steps to put a barrier there so that doesn't happen again. Bike project email, I sent that out to you guys. I've had 4 responses. So at this point, unless anybody else is interested in attending that, it won't require a special meeting. But if more of you would like to, that is certainly welcome. We are still looking when school resumes. Betsy will reach out to Andy Zinn at West and get that scheduled for either that Tuesday or Wednesday, so more details to come. But the presentation we got was super cool. They have some really cool concepts for these bike racks, and we're excited to share all that with you. And then lastly, the master plan process. Last month, you guys acted on that. That is slated to go on the council work session for April 19th. Patrick will be from Confluence, our consultant team. Myself will present the plan and answer questions in that work session to council. And from there, it will move on to their formal agenda to be accepted by council. And then lastly, sorry, I said 3, but I have one more. Next week is the Iowa Parks and Recreation Conference. It's our state association, so many staff, including myself, will be in Dubuque Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But we will be available via email, text message, phone call, leave a message. We'll get back to you if you have any questions or anything comes up.
Awesome.
Any questions for me?
So those who indicated that they would be going to the bike rack, will get a message on which day?
Yep. Once we get that Tuesday or Wednesday formally set, I'll send out further details because they'll have to put your name on a list. I'll send you the check-in procedures if you haven't been to West. You have to check in the office, get a visitor pass, and they do a real cool job. They send the students down, they escort us to the class. It's awesome. So.
And where will the work session be? Here?
The work session,
In the
they hold it here.
Okay.
It's the management update, city council work session that they have every Tuesday before committee of the whole. So we're slated for April 19th. So
Awesome.
It's open to the public. There's no public comment, but if you want to come and watch them discuss it again, you're more than welcome to.
Great. You have in your packet written staff reports, and normally what we do is review, and if there are specific questions, you are free to ask at this point. There is not official approval, it's just for your information. So each of the categories, park operations, which Betsy is part of, and recreation is Teresa for those who are new, right? And I assume Becca did community events, and revenue facilities would be Troy, and he's not here this evening, or this afternoon, late afternoon. But those are the persons who prepared the report. So are there comments or questions in regard to the staff reports that you've received? I have one question, and it'll be very brief. I want to know what the volunteer tracking system that Mr. Halverson is going to be working on, what is the intended purpose for doing that? Just briefly, how is that? Just in a nutshell, what would be part of the input and how it would be used?
Well, in all of the things that we report to NRPA, and actually now in our master plan and in my business plan, we have this goal of reporting how many volunteer hours we have. We've kind of just guesstimating that using AmeriCorps pretty much as the foundation of that, and then loosely our youth sports teams. And we're just looking for a system that will track that on a better basis and actually help us recruit more volunteers. So, because all of our areas utilize them pretty heavily. It's an impressive amount of hours and an impressive amount of worth to our department. And so that's why we want one. And we've been wanting it for, honestly, since I started with the city, so 15 years or plus. And it's just nice to have an AmeriCorps. He's really doing a great job. He's already researched like 7 systems, and he's taking this volunteer management course for the next 4 weeks. So I'm hoping that he has some good recommendations for us in the next couple months. And then we just kind of feel them out as a department. But to have someone to dedicate the time to doing that is really helpful.
Well, I think you were right. I asked it, but I thought I had grants question mark. So sometimes that is a real important piece of information for being awarded the grant versus somebody else who's competing, and those kinds of things are how you will have a real succinct.
Absolutely. It's a number that you can use as match a lot of times for grants. And it's a big part of AmeriCorps. They want that information. So, which is also helpful to us because we utilize it a lot as a department as well.
Thank you on that. Any questions in addition to that? Great things happening on the calendar for events. So my challenge would be to you to take one out and check it out if you've never been to one of those events. Obviously, the spring plant sale is on my agenda, and the Family Fun Day would be just get a sense of the people and what's going on. It would go beyond Party in the Park, which is a community thing that also will be happening. So are we ready? We have one person that's out in the field. Hello, Chris. Are you able, or do you have, you're able to report, but are there things happening with the Riverfront Improvement Commission that we would benefit from learning?
Yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yes, we do.
Just a couple things. There's a Riverfront refresh coming up, which is kind of like a cleanup and beautification day. It's after the corridor cleanup, which is this weekend. I actually didn't write the date down, so I'll get back to us on that. But there's going to be a lot of publicity about that. They just didn't want to step on the corridor cleanup that's happening this weekend by announcing it ahead of that. The other thing was that Steve Aarons had been kind of given the impression that
Uh-oh. He locked up.
Chris did give us a heads up that he is
Okay.
having some connection issues. He'll pass along what he could, but there
Okay.
was nothing time sensitive for the Parks Department at this time.
Yeah. Chris, you
Sorry,
locked up.
cutting out.
You froze. So are there some things that you could pass on to Jessica and we can get that in a communication along with the information about the bike rack thing? Is it? He's totally out. The picture. He's gone. What? Yeah, I'm freezing. Once again, may we just go on? Are there other items for advisory time? I think we've really had advisory report. Like I say, we've been so good at getting new information and asking questions. We really get updated before it's time for advisory time. Is there something we need to add for maybe next month's meeting, or are we good with moving on to adjournment? Jerry?
I move on to adjournment.
All right, thank you. Otherwise, they're going to scoop us out in just a minute or two. Are you passing that as a motion? Yes? Is there a second? I second it. Okay. Linda seconds. Those in favor of adjournment indicate with sure and be glory for St. Patrick's Day. I think it's a yes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I do want to welcome everyone. James?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, thank you so much, everybody. This has been awesome.